Sit back, relax, and keep your eyes to the skies.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to S-4, where we talk about the serious issues involving paranormal and current events, coming to you live from the S-4 headquarters here in the heart of the Cascade Mountains, in the studio in Cape Horn, Concrete, Washington. So tonight it's May 2nd. For many of us, it's a sacred time called Beltane. I jokingly refer to Cole and I on this show as the Catholic and the Witch. And we both agree to the aspect that, the mysteries of paganism are very confusing and need clarification. So we use this platform on S4 to dispel the bullshit at appropriate seasons, and this is such one. Looking back, even in Christian school, I recall May Day as a day we would make paper baskets, put flowers in them, and leave them on neighbors' doorsteps. And this was indeed a pagan tradition throughout history as a day of floralia, or flowers, in Roman lore. Today we hear about the bellfires, the maypole, and lots of sex.
Woo!
So we're going to discuss where this comes from and why, and as well as dispelling the myths in general of paganism and witches and are we really devil worshippers?
No, but you do seem to get worried when I start a fire.
So it's actually a really quiet show tonight because, we don't have any reason for Skype tonight. Just us sitting here in the studio talking about paganism and Beltane specifically.
Absolutely.
So this is actually one of those really big mystery Sabbats that we celebrate because it's exactly 6 months from Samhain, which many of you call Halloween. This is the beginning of summer. And the next Sabbath we have will be Midsummer in June. They are both big fairy traditions, or fairy festivals.
Festivals of the Fairy.
This is one of those times where you can actually, are supposed to be able to see the fae because the veil is thin. What's that smirk? You're smirking.
I think me and Tim might have to have a little conversation there, Tim.
Yeah. Sexy Keela. How convenient he calls you Sexy Keela on Beltane.
Hey,
the big...
where's my flowers, man?
It's interesting because
at the store where they belong.
I'm doing a lot of the historical research for the show for tonight. The sexual aspect, the fertility aspects, really didn't start predominantly until about the 19th century. Originally, in the 900s. With the Druids, Beltane would be a time where they'd have... It's always been a fire festival. Beltane itself has always been, or May 1st has always been seen as a fire festival. And it's kind of cool because in Germany, you could still see it. On May 1st, you still saw big bonfires built on the hillsides where the farmers were actually still practicing it.
That's really cool.
It is. And I'm pretty sure they knew why they were doing it. It started out with Druids, where this was a really important time because if they didn't appease the gods and goddesses of old, you'd have a failed harvest, you'd have sick animals, So it was important to appease the deities. You know, and it's interesting because Wicker Man, you've seen the movie Wicker Man,
Yeah.
Was centered around Beltane. And, of course, you've got the movies that over-dramatized it, but
Right.
they did do sacrifice. But you need to understand back then, in way old times, the person that was sacrificed knew they were going to be a sacrifice, and they were actually raised to be the sacrifice. They knew what they were doing, what they were born for.
Well, can you imagine being born as a lamb to slaughter, though? Like, you
Right.
know your entire life that you're just going to die. That's gotta suck.
And, you know, even today we still find archaeologists and historians, they still find bog bodies, which a lot of these sacrifices were not really burnt like Wicker Man portrays them, but they were put in the bog.
So they were just drowned?
I believe they were killed before they were put in the bog, but they were basically mummified.
Yeah, because of all the stuff in a bog. Ew.
So we're going to start tonight with and to give credit, this is a poem from Dragonborn Wolf in 9 April of 2012. It's called Beltane Bride. So hearken to the drums of the Beltane fire, pounding out its rhythm as the flames leap higher. Dancing round it, your senses overcome, moving with abandon in time with the drum. The longing in your belly starts to rise, along with the passion that shows in your eyes. Sweat soaks your body, your blood's on fire. You tremble with the force of your raging desire. You start to chant the ancient rhyme, calling to your lover, come to me, be mine. Come lie with me in the wildwood tonight. In honor of the ancients, let us unite. Even though through the smoke and dancing flames you see the one that you yearn for, wild, proud, and free. Wearing the antlers of the horn god on his brow, he watches you intently, then gives you a bow. You are his chosen one, he'll lie with you this night, deep in the forest under the stars shining bright. Like the lady and her lord, you two will be as one, as you make love to the rhythm of the distant Beltane drum. The drums are now silent with the dawn of the new day, your loving now more gentle, for no drum beat now holds sway. Burrowed deep within you, his fertile seed pours forth. With each powerful thrust of his, feel its potent warmth. A blessing was bestowed on you, virgins both that night, by the lady and the Lord, the only witness to your right. Today's your hand fasting, he whispers softly at your side. I will love you for eternity, my beloved Beltane bride. So, something you need to really understand with this particular Sabbath, a lot of pagans or Wiccans specifically actually do hand fastings on Beltane. So a hand fasting for those, it's a marriage. But within paganism, you'll do a hand fasting for a year and a day. So the hand fasting is you're bound before your deities, and it's kind of like a trial run, I guess you could say. Sometimes it can be legal. I mean, you can go to the courthouse and drop your marriage paperwork or whatnot. But it's more of a spiritual union. So, and then of course, if you don't get along, then you do a hand parting. But
so you just get a year and a day trial run of marriage before marriage.
Right, but the rite you do is before your god and goddess. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say it's a spiritual union, and then you can affirm it after the year and day, and you're actually married. Or it depends on your tradition, or how serious you want to take it, or you just get married. We Izzy and I kind of combined the two. We actually got married, but we combined pagan tradition with a normal wedding, just basically to make both sides of the family happy. And we actually did the cord the cord ritual where we our wrists were bound together with cords, and we jumped the broom. So, but this so on a spiritual side, and we've talked about this on the show in past pagan shows, but the god dies at Yule. He's reborn during the spring, and Beltane is when the god and goddess get remarried. And then, of course, he dies again at Samhain. Mm-hmm. Or do I have that right? There's so many pagan mysteries. Yeah, it is a Samhain. Samhain, he dies. And he's actually reborn in Yule, and now he is going into manhood. This is actually where the Green Man, or the Horn God, is a big part of Beltane as well. Hey, Sherry, and you know what? Tonight I think we're actually going to talk a little bit about past lives as well, because it does fall under the pagan realm, and I know you've been asking a lot of questions in the last month or two about past lives. And
ooh, I love past lives.
Uh-huh.
I do.
So, yeah, well, tonight we'll talk about past lives as well, because it
falls in the realm.
Falls into the realm,
yeah.
And it's a listener's question. So the first written documentation of Beltane was in 900 CE, and was actually written in the Sanus Cormaic, which is an Irish glossary thought to have been written by the churchmen of the time. So Beltane means Mayday, lucky fire, two fires which Druids used to make great incantations, and they used to bring the cattle between the fires as a purification from disease and from malicious fae for the next year. Dennis! It's always great to see Dennis as well. So it wasn't until the 1920th centuries that the English May Day was brought about using the phallic symbol of the maypole. So the maypole, and it was kind of interesting because when we were in Iraq and we had Desert Moon Grove going, in Balad we used a tree. So there's no set standard as far as when you create the maypole. It's got to be like 19 or 20 feet tall. Tall enough to accommodate the tallest practitioner. Mm-hmm. And then you have, and we actually took engineer tape, which is a cloth tape, and we colored it red and white.
Oh, that's cool.
And well, I think you've seen pictures. When we were in Telefar, we took a tent pole because it was tall enough, and we did the same thing. We took engineer tape. What's the question?
Poutine.
Okay.
Is French fries with cheese curds spread over top and brown gravy that is boiling hot poured over.
Oh my god, it's so good. Oh, man. It's
Good
like
question,
one of my
though.
favorite Canadian dishes, man.
Okay, I got you.
It's right up there with donaires. I don't even know.
Well, it relates to the topic. Poutine relates to everything.
It does. You know, we got to make llamas bread. So llamas is on August 1st. And we'll actually do a show on llamas too. So
Is that shit from Lord of the Rings?
yeah,
Yeah, dude.
We can't make that.
why not?
Because Smeagol will fucking throw it over the cliff.
Screw Meagle. We're gonna eat it, damn it. We actually made llamas bread in Iraq again. You know, we tried to, within obviously the combat missions, juggling combat missions, whatever soldiers could make it. When we actually started Desert Moon, it was going to be like a once a week, get together, just more of a morale boost. But the soldiers, they showed up every night, and they're like, "Huh, okay, this is going to be our morale boost." So we had coffee every night, and of course in Telefar we had the Turkish Special Forces, which a couple of them actually came to our pagan gatherings every night too for about 2 or 3 months. And we actually got treated better by Islamic soldiers than we did our own when it came to that. Which is why I do think having pagan shows whenever we have a Sabbath, maybe not that often, but I think seasonally, like we do tonight, and then maybe we'll do another one in Llamas.
All right, cool.
You know, every few months we'll do a pagan oriented show. And like I explained in Washington Witches group, it's important to, especially in this day and age, to dispel myths. And being pagan in general, the paranormal is it's normal everyday life. Pagans talk to spirits. They see deity in a different light. They recognize Fae. Whereas a lot of your non-pagan oriented paranormal groups or teams, they don't even recognize that there's anything such thing as fairy or Fae.
I'm going to ask, what's the difference in like regular bread and llamas bread? Is it made with a different type of wheat or?
It depends on the recipe. It depends on the tradition. So basically, llamas is the first of the harvest Sabbaths. So you're taking the wheat and the grains from your garden, and it's basically a Thanksgiving or a bountiful thank you to the deities for the harvest that they created.
Oh, okay.
All
right, I got you.
So it's not so much what's in it as where it came from.
Gotcha.
And,
okay.
Thanking the deities for... Because bear in mind, back, in the old Celtic days, it was a difference between life and death, whether your harvest was good or bad.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
They honored or appeased the deities to make the harvest good or bad. She's still talking about food, ain't you?
Okay. I'm answering her.
Okay, so I'm just going to keep talking, and if any questions come up.
This.
Yep.
Well, what I'm trying to figure out, because from a scientific point of view,
and
from growing vegetables and knowing about growing vegetables and insects and everything, do you think that the original fires of May Day not only were to appease the deities, but that also was like old school pesticides? Like it kept
I don't.
No? Okay.
Because fire doesn't keep the aphids out.
No, it keeps the what are those? They're not crickets, they're locusts.
Locusts.
Yeah, it keeps the locusts away.
If you're burning down your harvest, maybe.
No, I mean just the smoke.
The smoke could. Yeah. I see what you're saying. And that's possible. So we're going to talk about fertility here a little bit as well, because there's different. Fertility's not all about sex. When you think about fertility, a lot of pagans will take that as making your education fertile. And that this is a time that you might want to be looking at your colleges or your and planting that seed for what your next college is going to be, or what your next educational step is going to be. Hold on a sec here. I've actually got that on a whole list here of the different fertile aspects. Because, the sex is great, don't get me wrong, but yeah. Sex is a big part. So they also do what's called the Great Rite, and a lot of your pagan groups or covens, the high priest and priestess will actually literally merge with the god and goddess and do the Great Rite, which is a sexual act, before their coven. Not always. It depends on how open the coven is.
Okay.
Obviously, if it's a family friendly event, they're not going to do it right there on the altar. But yeah. So the room to grow. So you got fertility of the mind. Do you want to go back to school? If so, start looking at schools. This is the time that you would be looking at the schools you want to go to. Fertility of the body. Yoga, Tai Chi. These are things you might want to look at this point in time. Fertility of the family. So you want to find new and interesting ways to teach your children about being pagan. Fertility of magic. Do you want to get comfortable with calling quarters by heart? So calling quarters. So anytime there is, and let me clarify. So Wiccans specifically are big on the calling quarters. They're big on you have to have a circle. They're very dogmatic with that. And you have to have a god and a goddess unless you're Dianic. Now, if you're a Dianic Wiccan, you're a goddess-oriented group only. That's more of your feminist pagans. And I'll probably get shot for saying that, but it is what it is. I know males that actually try to go to a Dianic school, and they were allowed to go into this Dianic school, and they weren't allowed to graduate because they're men. Mm-hmm.
Right.
You could have been forthright with that before you let them come in.
So I'm just throwing this out, but just because I don't really understand paganism all that well, so do you have a god and a goddess, or just a goddess, or just a god?
And that's what I mean. It depends on what your tradition is or what you're comfortable with. So, my goddess is Morrigan. She's the Celtic goddess of death, birth, and rebirth, and war. Okay. She is a war goddess. So, does that mean I have to say bye-bye Morrigan because I'm not in the army anymore? Absolutely not, because we're fighting a war all the time with politics, with community, life. Absolutely. So she's always there on that aspect of
Wives.
It. Huh?
Wives.
Okay. So no, and again, Dianics, they're gonna be only goddess oriented.
Okay. Is there a group that's only God oriented then too?
Christians.
Well.
Just saying. Not that I'm really aware of. Most of them are, because the logic behind it too is you can't have balance without male and female.
Oh, okay. Alright.
So, now, bringing up Christianity real quick.
I know one race that would disagree with that.
Who's that?
The ones on Mars.
Okay.
What?
I wanted to bring this up, and that just gave me the perfect opportunity.
Okay.
Do you know that Mars is the only planet right now that we know of that is completely run by a race of robots? One race, because they all came from the same place.
You talking about the Pathfinder?
Huh? All of the rovers. Mm-hmm. They're all from NASA, so they're one race.
Right.
And they are occupying a planet. And they're the only race on that planet that we know of right now.
That we know of. Key words.
Well, we can't see the other side.
No.
Or inside the volcano. But still.
Right.
Oh, no.
I can guarantee you when we get there, I'm sorry, there's going to be a flag. And it's going to be the U.S. flag, but it's going to have one robot in where, like, instead of the stars.
It should. Well, now we have to change the flag anyway, because now Washington, D.C. is going to be a state.
And there'll be little tiny rovers going everywhere.
Right?
Little baby rovers? Oh, my God.
They're procreating.
Hey, it is Beltane. It might be.
If you could make replicating robots that took over a planet, dude, do you know how far advanced that would be? That would be freaking awesome, honestly.
So, you gotta understand too, the pantheons, it's not just about a god and a goddess, it's about what pantheon you follow. So whether you're a Celtic tradition, whether you're a Roman tradition, a Greek tradition, Scottish tradition, I mean, they all have their own matriarch, patriarch, deities that they follow.
Okay.
Egyptian, another big one. Japanese. Well, Japanese pagans are generally referred to as Shinto. And that is I don't even know about Shinto. It's very ancestral.
Non-binary arc.
Do what?
A non-binary arc. Instead of a matriarch or a patriarch. Because the spaghetti monster does not have a gender.
Oh my gosh.
What?
you are right.
They took that into a true religion.
Yeah, that is true.
True. And they'd have to create one. Just saying.
Yeah. But he well, and I say he, but they've never actually given him a gender. No matter what he is.
Now, isn't there a big pagan following, like Nordic pagan following
So,
as well?
okay, so the Norse usually call themselves the Satru, or heathen.
Okay.
That is, and so with the heathens, some of them actually get offended if you call them pagan, because they're not pagan, they're heathen.
They're the ones that were in Vikings, the show.
Yes, absolutely. And so with that, you have other sects. Odinists, they follow Frigg and Freya for deities. They follow Thor. When you talk in Greek, you have Zeus. So some actually, there's a lot of open areas within paganism as far as what deities you follow.
No, is there? How do I put this? Not really a dark side, I guess, would be the way, but okay, so is there in paganism where you have a group of them that would follow, like, the Titans versus the gods? Or is that more something else?
It's an individual choice.
Okay.
That's, and so you might be drawn to Hecate, for example.
Okay.
And you might be drawn to, I don't know, a Celtic god like Cernunnos. Or you don't have to, that's the other thing. And there's a lot of infighting within pagan circles. Well, I don't have a deity. I don't work with deities. I work with energy. And that's completely acceptable as well. Not all pagans follow any one deity and don't see a need for a deity. Okay. They might work with elements. They might work with magic only. They might work with fae. Or just energy work in general. Now, is there such thing as a white witch and a black witch? Absolutely not.
Okay, so would you say it's like you have a little bit of both in you, no matter what?
There can't be balance without both.
Okay. So it's kind of like okay, this is horrible to say, but so instead of having like the Jedi and the Sith, it's more of just straight middle ground, where you'd have like half and half. And
that's another fight.
Okay.
Because then there are Wiccan circles out there that believe in the rule of the threefold law, which is lest you harm none, do as you will. Mm-hmm. Now, with that means that actually that's the essentially the golden rule, and they don't believe in harming anybody. We set up a Desert Moon Grove booth at a Pagan Pride event. In support of pagans in the military, and I actually had a Wiccan that ran up and said, "Oh my God, how can you be in the military and harm none?" And before I could answer him, he ran off. He ran away. But in every belief system, there's always the warrior side. Mm-hmm. There has to be a militant or a military side of whether you're Christian or whether you're
right.
Other than Buddhist. Okay, Buddhists are usually seen as the peaceful ones.
Okay, so
until they start pulling out machetes and
so in paganism,
I've seen Mortal Kombat, don't
right?
So in paganism, just like I'm gonna use Christianity because it's the one that I know most about.
Right.
Okay, so you'd have your different sects, like we would have like Baptists and
so you can see paganism as an umbrella. So within paganism, there's your Wiccans, which we'll get to that in a second. But you got Wiccans, you got witches. What's that?
You're answering it right now.
Okay. Oh, Sherry. Oh, good question. We'll get to that. That's a whole nother topic for in a second. So you got Wiccans, you got witches. So all witches. Oh, how's that? All Wiccans are witches, but not all witches are Wiccan.
Okay.
Is a warlock different?
Oh God. Okay, we'll get to bring that up in a second. So yeah, Wiccans, you have witches, you have
different?
druids.
It's been a second.
You have druids, you have Asatru, you have shamans. So Native American shamans. There's some pagans that practice or study Native American shamans, but then you have Celtic shamans. Don't ask me the differences. You could answer that more than I could as far as
brown,
the Native
one's
American. Yeah.
One eats potatoes, one eats
I honestly
maize
never studied Celtic shamans.
and fry bread.
Right? And berries.
Sometimes. You get the craps from the berries, so.
So again, within Asatru itself, you've got the Odinists, you've got the Vikings, which was more of a culture than it was a belief. Honestly, you've got. I'm trying to remember all of them. There's new ones that pop up. So within Wicca, you've got the Dianics, you've got the Gardnerians, you've got the Alexandrians, you've got the Faerie. There's a fairy tradition that was created out of California by Kisma Stepanich.
Kismic Stepanich?
Kisma Stepanich.
Kisma.
Yep.
Okay.
And she's actually in Moon Paranormal.
Oh, nice.
We can have her on the show anytime. But she does fairy Wicca.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I'd like to learn something.
You got Strega, which is Italian witchcraft. So you Wicca itself is, like I said, very dogmatic. They have a god and a goddess, and so there's different trains of thought that all goddesses come from the same energy, but are called different names.
Okay.
And you've got others like myself. I believe all goddesses are individual.
So they have their own energy.
Have their own energy
Okay.
and their own personality and their own skill set. So it's really what you are comfortable with and what your tradition is. So a warlock. So think of when, 17th century, 18th century, when it was really taboo to be a witch. And they would go in the woods to meet. Your typical coven was a group of 13.
Okay, is there a reason for 13? Like, is that...
It's just a witch's number.
It's not just a witch's number. It's a perfect number.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a mathematical enigma.
Okay.
It's used in every religion, most equations.
Great explanation.
Yeah, like honestly, it's one of the most common numbers you can find. It's 13, 7.
12 is huge, and so is 3.
They're
Okay. No, I just wanted to know, like, religiously, if there was, like, an
No, this is
absolute
a great
reason
conversation. I
why-
love your questions because we're bouncing around and we're getting
this was explained for me. It has to do with the zodiac, because there is a 13th zodiac. Always. We just don't use it anymore because it doesn't fit with the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Now, warlock, many saw as a male witch, which is so. It's still used today in the Norse traditions. The Norse traditions still use warlock as a term for a male practitioner. And you will find a random person that says, I'm not a witch, I'm a warlock. Well, actually, a witch is a witch, whether you're male or female. But the definition of warlock is oathbreaker. So when you're looking at, it's really not good to be an oathbreaker.
So would the actual male definition of witch be wizard?
No, that's a whole other practice.
It would be witch. Witch is a witch, right?
Yeah.
Not according to Harry.
You're a wizard, Harry.
See?
Oh, God.
Right? That's a whole different practice. And to me, the Green Witch which is what I pretty much call myself as a green witch, is one that works with herbs, stones,
So you're
knows
earth-based.
nature. Huh?
Yeah, earth-based. Okay.
Absolutely. And so if you want good books, I suggest Ann Mira, who does the Green Witchcraft series. She does Green Witchcraft 1, 2, and 3, and then she actually went on to the Green Witch's Grimoire, and a whole lot. A great series. And very basic.
So this is going to sound stupid, but again, I don't know very much about paganism. So when you're talking about green witches and stuff, then does the green man come into play with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Do bad spells go back to the one who cast them if their target is protected?
So that goes with karmic law. So you only put out what you are willing to accept back. Now, if they're protected, it depends. Because, I mean, if you have a mirror spell that's protecting you, then yes, it will go back to sender. I hope that answers.
So you believe in karmic law?
Yes and no.
Do you believe in Cole's law?
Yes and no. So karmic law, karmic law goes to what we were talking about earlier with the Wiccan Read. Wiccans believe that if you put out bad energy, it's going to come back on you threefold. Satanists believe in the same, but it's going to come back on you tenfold.
Oh, well, that sucks.
Right?
So something as simple as a paper cut for somebody else, you get your head chopped off?
Yeah. Well, no, actually, the Satanists take that to the extent that you mess with my family, I'm going to mess you up 10 times worse.
Oh, okay,
that's where they go with it.
So it's the other side. Okay.
Yeah.
So instead of an eye for an eye, it's an eye for a head.
Yep.
All right, gotcha.
Well, that's okay. Let me clarify. That's the Satanist I've actually talked to. That doesn't mean it's representative of the whole Satanic Church or temple. And that's a whole other discussion because you got different variations of Satanism as well. You got Anton LaVeyists, which follow Anton LaVey, not the actual deity Satan or Lucifer himself. Let's see here. So Wiccans, a friend who is a witch, plays to protection. May have tried to cast something. That's called, Okay, I'll get to that, Dennis. That's really a gray area because I've talked to some that call themselves satanic witches. I guess it's a personal opinion. It's the same as some that call themselves Christian witches, which I kind of have a hard time with that too because if you actually go by the Bible, you can't be a Christian witch.
Well, but the thing is, at the same time, it's a religious belief, so you can. That's the problem.
Right.
It's because it's a religious belief, you can be whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I attend the Church of Assholes. I'm the lone member, but hey.
No, I'm in that church too.
You haven't been showing up to the meetings, don't even.
Okay. Church of Assholes. And there's a lot of infighting within the pagan community about whether you can be a satanic witch or a Christian witch. But there's the other ones that, why not? It's really, don't go to a church and call yourself a Christian witch because, you might be run out, or it depends on how open-minded your pastor is. Mm-hmm. White witches, there is no such thing as a white witch. A witch is a witch. So it really, again, it goes to intention. Are you putting out good spells or bad spells? Or is there no such thing as a good or a bad spell? It's the intention of what you're trying to create. Honestly, a Christian prayer is a form of a spell, if you want to get technical. Spells are nothing but words and energy.
I think what she's referring to is there's some people out there that can, they call themselves white witches because they believe in light magic. So they only deal with things that are 100% pure in their magic.
Right.
And so it's a self-definition of what they do.
It's a self-label.
Yes.
I don't believe in labels. I'm a witch. A witch is a witch. I do what I do.
I like labels. They help me find things.
And, you know, people, in some circles, I call myself pagan because you say pagan, it's got a much easier connotation to understand than if I say I'm a witch. Because the minute you say I'm a witch, you got people to freak the hell out. Oh my God, you're a devil worshiper. No, actually, I don't believe in your devil. Devil is more Christian and more Islam. It is what it is.
Okay, so then, being a witch, is there a, like, okay, how would I put that? So, is there a form of, like, evil that you do believe in? Like, would it be...
It's just negative energy.
Okay.
Whether it's a negative entity, you know, because we all know in the paranormal community, negative entity isn't always demonic. A demon is merely another race.
Okay.
It doesn't make it anti-Christian. Only if you're Christian and believe demons are, you know, fallen angels. But in all reality, it's just another race
Okay,
of...
so you do believe in the good and the dark. You just believe in good and dark energy then versus necessarily
I believe in
like
balance.
angels and demons.
I believe there has to be balance with good and evil.
Okay, so more like the yin-yang philosophy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Hey, Dennis says, when someone tells me they're a witch, my answer is usually something to the effect of, that's nice. I mean, and you're absolutely right. But you have a lot of negative people out there that, one, you know, and I got asked by a chaplain. So when I first started Desert Moon Up, for example, I had to have a chaplain basically sponsor our group. Did he do anything? Absolutely not. It was a piece of paper that says, okay, as chaplain sponsoring us, we did our own thing. But as soon as he realized that we were about to be a reality, then he went to the conversion side and he tried to, well, you're not going to dance naked out in the it's like, really, sir? We're in a combat zone. We're not going to dance naked. No.
I would have major sunburn.
Right? I'm not going to run away from camel spiders naked. Oh, hell no. But, you know, and so that's called skyclad. There are some covens and there are some groups that actually do practice skyclad. They go out in the woods. They practice, they dance naked under the moon.
Now, what's the purpose of that? Are you grabbing moon energy? Or, like honestly, I just...
Oh. Huh?
That would chase the enemy away.
It would. We're so white that, yeah, it would chase the enemy away.
Moon blindness.
So the reason for skyclad is really you're coming to your deities again in natural form.
Oh, okay. All
That's all it is. There's nothing sexual to it, although of course you do hear rumors and you do hear some covens that practice orgies and you know, to each their own.
Right.
Polyamory is another big thing in paganism.
Okay.
But
so
again, to each their own.
Does the polyamory in paganism go for both sides of that as well? So can you have two husbands or just two wives?
Either or.
Okay. So it doesn't matter.
So the big thing with that's well known to the outside world is that pagans are very open to the LGBT community, for example, because again, to each their own.
I just don't know how well anyone can handle more than one partner.
Oh, hell no.
Damn!
Not doing it.
They got power.
Nope, not doing it. Not doing it.
Gotta admit, you can't handle more than one of me.
Oh, God, no.
Like,
I wouldn't even try.
Great question, Sherry. So where do these witches find out how to be a witch?
Hogwarts.
For real?
Yeah, I got my letter yesterday. Didn't you get yours?
No, damn mail system.
God damn it. Those owls.
So honestly, and that's the other thing within paganism too. We educate absolutely just to dispel myths, but we don't go knocking door to door. We don't try to convert anybody. If you're not pagan, I don't want you to be pagan. Stay to yourself. Stay to your own practice. Now, if you're drawn to nature, if you're drawn to nature lore, you're drawn to paganism because you like what you read, you meditate, and something comes to you, and you like what you see or feel, then yes, there are books you can get. So any book for anyone that wants to learn what paganism is, there's a good one by Starhawk. I'm at a loss of what the title is. But Scott Cunningham. Any books by Scott Cunningham? So there's Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner, and there's a second book to it called Living Wicca. So don't let the title fool you. It is, yes, it's Wiccan, but Wicca, to me, is also the basics for magic. It's the basics for any pagan practice. And then you find out what your true calling is afterwards. Do spells work accidentally? No. Actually, spells have to be intentional. Now, again, to clarify, all a spell is energy with words. Words are important. Words bring out your intention.
Best not to stutter.
Don't stutter. You might get the wrong shit.
No, okay. Well, with that though, if you built up enough energy within you, could it accidentally discharge? I mean, if you have a whole bunch of light energy or whatever inside of you, mechanics energy, could you accidentally blow up a light bulb or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Izzy's gonna kick your ass.
What?
Those movies are not canon.
Oh, come on. I was serious.
Oh, and don't use The Craft as a damn example. Oh, my God. I'm sorry, but The Craft was probably the biggest bane against pagans, right?
Monsters and Where to Find Them. Which one is that?
Monsters, Inc.?
No. Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts.
Oh, really?
I was just wondering.
She's going to get into the car on Tuesday and Izzy's just going to smack her.
Right? For no reason at all. So, I want to pay a bill. And I want to do a prosperity spell. A prosperity spell is not going to work just to give you millions. There's certain universal laws within that. So if I want to, I'm behind on a bill and I need extra money to pay that bill. I'm going to get a green candle. They're called spell candles. They're about 2 inches long. And I'm going to do what's called dressing it. And you're going to look in, there's different properties to intentions. So I might take mint oil because mint is representative of prosperity. I'm going to dress this green candle green because money's green. And you're basically rubbing the mint oil on the candle. It's called dressing the candle. And there's certain symbols you might etch onto the candle.
Mm-hmm. Like sigils and stuff?
Sigils, yeah. And
okay.
so you look up sigils and you figure out what's a good sigil for prosperity. And you're going to place that candle on top of a bell, for example. Mm-hmm. And you light the candle. And while the candle's lit and burning, your intentions, you're going to focus your energy and your mind on that bill being paid. Or that, of enough money to pay the bill. And you're going to let the candle burn all the way down. That's a basic spell.
So Sherry says, if she found a spell book and wanted to put an evil curse on someone, could she do it if she followed the spell exactly? Or did she have to be a ceremonial witch, or Wiccan, or whatever? Asking for a friend.
You're asking for a friend. I wouldn't go off no. I would just go buy a spell book and think that's going to work. There's a lot more. So you want to look at the properties of herbs. You want to look at the properties of stones and figure out what combination.
You need to understand the spell, not just
Right.
read it.
Right.
Okay, so with that in mind, I know that a lot of pagans do altars.
Right.
Okay? What is the significance of an altar, and
An altar
what
is
do you put on it?
an altar is a sacred space. So there could be a seasonal altar. So like for Beltane, you're going to put flowers on it. You're going to put your god and goddess symbols on it. So generally speaking, red, oh God, let me go. Red is symbolic for the god, green for the goddess. So you're going to have your goddess candle on the right, your god candle on the left. Like I said, it's very dogmatic within Wiccans. You're going to put a symbol for each element. So a red candle for fire, a green candle for earth, a blue candle for water, and a yellow candle for air. And then, of course, if it's Yule, you're going to have a Yule log on it. Holly, for Beltane.
Okay, so these change from season to season.
Absolutely.
So it's not just the same altar all the time.
Nope.
Okay.
You might have it. So for Samhain, it being an ancestral holiday as well, you might have a second altar set up as an ancestral shrine.
Okay. Gotcha.
So for a hand fasting, for example, I'd always set up a hand fasting altar in the middle of the circle where I'm doing a hand fasting, because I am ordained. I am able to do hand fastings or hand partings or funeral rites or things of that nature. And well, you know what? That's a whole other topic, because I do believe, and being Homeland Security as well, I'm very security minded, and there's still people out there that hunt witches. I mean, there's still, there's still a threat to, look at the Jewish tabernacle that got shot up. I mean, there's people that attack specific religions. Mm-hmm. So I do believe, as clergy, you always need to be security minded. You need to be aware of child abuse. When it comes to community, a clergy needs to be. There's a whole lot of topics,
right,
that all clergy need to be aware of. Anyway, we're bouncing around here tonight, but that's okay. So, talking about a spell book, we have what's called the Book of Shadows. And I know that's been brought up in movies and whatnot. So, Book of Shadows is merely a blank notebook. It can be a blank spell book. What I see as a Book of Shadows is something personal. You don't let your friends read it. It's you can put down the spells that you've tried and the outcome. You can put down llamas bread recipes. A tree leaf that called to you, a stone that called to you. Obviously, you're not going to put that in a book, but
so it's basically like a Wiccan, or like a pagan journal, then.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But a little more personal.
Okay. So like a spiritual journal.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
So getting back to Warlock real quick. So the Coven Book of Shadows was something that was very secretive because of the age that they were actually practicing. If they were caught as a coven, they would be burned at the stake. They would be, drowned, depending on what country they're in or the time, the era. So the Warlock was the one who went to the authorities of the Catholic Church and said, hey, Jane and Mary are both witches. Mm-hmm. They became an oath breaker. They were the Warlock.
Oh, okay.
So you didn't want to be a Warlock in those days.
Okay.
At what point in time did it become a male witch? I really don't know. But I get asked all the time, well, you're a male, that makes you a Warlock, right? No, absolutely not. I'm a witch. A witch is a witch. To me, it's taboo, or not taboo, but to me, it's disrespectful to be a Warlock. So no. Oh, is a Book of Shadows your reflection? Not really. I like Kayla's explanation better in that, yeah, it's more of your spiritual journal. But it's something that you don't let other people read. It's very personal. You might put you might put a meditation that you did where you actually met your goddess or god. So it's more of a personal spiritual journal. I think I like that. And good night, Sherry. Glad you joined us. We'll be getting to past lives later, so if you want to come back and listen later on to the show, then we'll be going into reincarnation a little bit. So along with knowing what your deities are going to be or which culture you're more drawn to, you need to know stone properties. Which stone do you want for grounding? Which stone do you want for healing? And you don't just grab a bunch of plants and mix them together. You're creating chaos. Because you don't want to put, for example, a plant that's representative of a fire property with, a plant that's representative of air. And then you got some people they'll invoke multiple deities at one gathering, and Hecate and, say, Diana might not get along.
Oh, gotcha. So then you're just making chaos.
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
You have to know what you're doing a little bit. You don't just,
So you don't just grab it and go with it.
Nope.
You study it and you figure out what you're doing before.
There's a lot of study. Then you have degree programs. I'm not much of a degree person, but Gardnerian Wiccans, for example, they'll have. If you come and study with them for a year and a day, you become a first degree.
Oh, okay. So that's like when you're taught when they used to say that Order of Merlin 5th degree. Oh, okay. All right.
And that doesn't make you really any more of a better practitioner than, say, Joe down the street, who's been practicing for 50 years.
Now, is there an actual Order of Merlin?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I was just wondering.
So on that note, we are going to go ahead and take our first break, and when we come back, we'll carry on the conversation.
And we'll be right back.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
And welcome back to Hour 2, where tonight we are talking about pagans in general, and it is Beltane. So happy Beltane, blessed Beltane to any of our pagan listeners. If you want, jump into the chat room and you can ask your questions. I like to do this every once in a while, you know, the Catholic and the witch. And you know, we're 5 years old. Huh? What?
Just thinking. So you say happy Beltane here.
Mm-hmm.
In England, do they say Merry Beltane?
Probably.
Is it like opposite of Christmas?
Some do.
Because we say Merry Christmas.
Right.
And they say Happy Christmas.
I think it's a cultural thing, to be honest with you. You know, in Australia, it's not Beltane, it's actually Samhain.
That's because they don't have anything to be happy about. Their country is terrifying.
Right?
And everything's trying to kill you.
You have that too.
Australia.
Oh, yeah.
So,
spider
you
plague.
know, S4 is 5 years old, and we actually never did a whole lot of pagan talk because, well, honestly, didn't want to insult anybody. But Cole's actually the one who brought it up, back in November.
Who the fuck cares?
Oh,
I mean,
that too. But, you know, it's a good platform, and it's a good time to actually educate our listeners as far as, you know, do we believe in Satan? Absolutely not.
well, he's a nice guy. Like, come on.
On the TV show, he's great.
Yeah.
I like Lucifer.
Friend.
Morning star.
But, you know, being pagan, like I said in the beginning of the show, yeah, paranormal is a normal part of life. So it's kind of interesting when all the paranormal questions you will get in a pagan group, they're not paranormal questions. They're how do I get rid of the spirit that came to my altar? And it's not a paranormal group that's answering them. It's a group of pagans. They're saying, oh, you do this. You know, because it's a normal part of our practice.
Mm-hmm. Hey, so when you were talking about like, books of shadows and different things like that, you were talking about you put different sigils in there sometimes.
Right.
So, are there specific sigils, or do you make your own sigils, or is it
Both?
Like, yeah.
So there is a symbol for air. There is a symbol, and it's a triangle. Some with lines through it. I'm not going to sit here and explain all of them, but
right.
Yeah, there is a symbol for the besom, which is a broom. There's a symbol for the cauldron. There's a symbol for which, again, the cauldron is a feminine element, a feminine symbol.
So when you are making like your own sigils, then so is that whatever personally speaks to you, and you just put it down on paper?
Just like you've seen my tattoo on my right side. That's my name. That is my symbol.
Oh, okay.
Same with Izzy. We have our own symbol of who we are. And then, of course, you know, you got dragons, you've got fae, you've got phoenix, you've got, you know, they aren't so much mythical creatures as they are a real part of pagans.
Okay.
So let's see. God damn it. I had these thoughts in my head during the break, and so where are we going from here? So dryads. You know, I was reading something earlier today that it was actually in a pagan group. That you know where the knock on wood comes from? You're waking up the dryad from the wood for help, for assistance. And
is he in the wood?
Huh?
Is he in the wood?
Yeah, the dryad is the spirit of the tree.
Well, that's fucking rude.
Not always.
You
Sometimes
couldn't just
you ask
say,
me for help.
Hey, buddy.
Well, you know, it would be even more rude the fact that you made him into a table. I mean, like...
He's still... I honestly don't think...
Do you think that dryads just live in living trees? Like,
I
they're
think,
the spirit of a living
you know,
tree?
and that, again, that's another argument within some circles, that dryad is stuck to that tree, so when the loggers come and cut the tree down. But I believe personally that dryads can move from tree to tree.
Okay.
I don't think they're stuck to one tree.
So, like, if you chop that tree down, they can...
Oh, they're going to be pissed off.
They can jump to another tree.
Right, and they're going to be pissed off, and, well, yeah.
So you think of them as more
trees
of,
kill
like,
loggers.
spirits of the forest versus spirits of the tree?
No, that's a whole different topic.
Oh, okay.
Spirit of the forest is well, Fae, for example, could be technically the spirits of the forest.
Okay.
But dryads are solely in trees.
Now, in the pagan belief, do jinn play a role in that? Or is that more Islamic belief?
That's Islamic.
Okay.
We don't have a jinn per se. Not that I've ever encountered.
Okay.
As far as any of the studies I've done. That's mostly Islamic.
Okay.
What would be our equivalent?
You have, like, trickster goddess? Or
Yeah,
gods,
Loki.
Or... Okay. So
Loki's a trickster god. Yeah. And, you know, and again, you can go back and, you know, like I explained about Morrigan, you can go back and you can... Hecate is symbolized by the owl.
Okay.
Morrigan is... so Morrigan's symbols would be the bloodstone, would be red and black, would be... Every deity's got their own personal
Stone
symbols.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm trying to think what her plants are. So, like, the red cow and the black dog are also, and the raven, are all symbols of her, for example. So you have a murder of crows or a unkindness of ravens. Morrigan might be around, or just an omen.
Okay.
You know, it really goes into context.
Now, there's a lot of people that believe that all paganism is a bunch of people, like, sitting around reading tarot cards and throwing bones. You
That's
know
a
what
part
I mean?
of it.
Like, so how big of a impact do, like, tarot cards and bones?
So divination is a big part of pagan practice. Whether you are using a dowsing rod or a pendulum or tarot cards or scrying. So there's water scrying, there's fire scrying, there's tea leaf reading. I mean, there's a whole. You could do a whole show just on divination practices alone. So fire scrying is where you're gazing into a fire and symbols and pictures will come out.
Okay.
Water scrying, you go to a stream and you gaze or you meditate into a moving stream, and the same thing. It's you'll get visions.
Okay, so are you, like, when you're doing that, then are you calling on, like, the elements of that, or like the fate of that, or is it different for
elements?
Everybody?
And it is different for everybody. But it's a form of meditation too. It can be.
Okay. Gotcha.
And again, too, meditation is a big part of pagan practice. Mm-hmm. That's how you meet your deities. It's how you meet your guides. It's how then you go into the realm of mediums and psychics. In some cases, not all of them are pagan. But yeah, just like Izzy and I both have our own tarot decks at the house. Now I have a hard time with some that do their own readings for themselves, because you're putting your own influence or your own energy into. Izzy will read my cards, I'll read hers, for example. Some people, they do say they do their own readings, but.
Now, would like a gypsy be a form of pagan,
Absolutely.
or would that be its own thing?
They're their own thing, but it is pagan.
Okay.
In fact, there's gypsy witchcraft. You can find books out there on gypsy witchcraft. Mm-hmm. But again, I think that's more of a hereditary or a familial line.
Okay, then does like hoodoo and voodoo also fall into that overwhelming?
Yes and no. Hoodoo more than voodoo. Voodoo is more. Well, voodoo and Santeria are completely different. Santeria is, I believe, Puerto Rican.
Oh, sangria is a drink.
No, Santeria. I believe it's actually Mexico. Huh? No, that was the pita and Santeria. Yeah. But so hoodoo came from the Appalachians.
Okay.
And that's where you find a lot of your the brick dust lore, and you put the brick dust across, and the evil spirits can't cross it. And
So when you're calling on like a spirit of protection, mm-hmm. right? Would that be, and this I'm asking you, Cole, because I'm married to a Catholic, but I don't know much about Catholicism either.
It's a good workout.
So would like the pagan version of calling on a spirit for protection be close to like you calling on saints for like safe travels and stuff, or how does that work?
It's the same energy. It honestly is.
Like,
no, it isn't. Used to be.
Okay.
Okay.
So what do you like?
Explain.
How does that? Yeah.
Explain.
So it used to be that you would light a candle, you would donate to the church and receive like a medal of St. Christopher.
Okay, we don't do that. We light a candle.
But the thing is, now it's literally you're just buying a medal of St. Christopher and expecting it to do the work.
Yeah.
It'll keep you safe.
Well, it's watered down.
And yeah, it's completely watered down. And so it's not really the same anymore.
No.
There is no faith put into it.
But honestly,
no belief. There's no intent.
A lot of your new pagans are the same. A lot of it's watered down.
Friend,
I think spirituality in general in today's society is all watered down.
Yeah,
from what it used to be.
Like it's the whole idea of like Jesus take the wheel. Jesus won't take the wheel. That isn't going to happen. God gave you the gifts not to be stupid.
Well, it just
now you have to choose not to be.
Okay, it's just like this in the same context. I'm not going to go to a doctor because God's going to heal my kids. No, you know what? God gave you a brain to take your kids to a doctor. Faith healing.
I've seen some pretty weird shit. I don't know. That Indian guy who reaches into the belly and just pulls out the cancer. I don't know.
That's just weirdness.
Huh?
That's just weirdness.
That's amazing to me.
It happens.
I don't know how. I don't think that would work.
What? Pulling out the cancer?
Yeah, I don't think it would work.
The guy supposedly... This is... so the one I'm specifically talking about was... Chris Pontius and... Steve-O.
Okay.
Did that show after Jackass.
Where they traveled around the world?
Yeah.
Wild Boys or something?
Wild Boys.
Yeah.
And they went to India and they watched a guy do this. The guy went later that had it done to him. Mm-hmm. And the cancer was gone.
That's Hindu.
Friend... It's weird.
Yeah, Hindu's cool too. Now I do kind of equate Hindu with pagan practice.
But Hindus aren't the only one that perform that,
right?
Because a lot of shamans do that too.
Okay, so like Tibet and stuff.
Tibet, and then also Native Americans, and like there's some tribes.
Okay.
And then I would imagine
that's a lot deeper spirituality than what you see today, for damn sure.
Yeah.
And I do believe a lot of spirit has a part in that practice.
Now, with paganism, do you believe that everybody is born with these gifts, or this is something that needs to be learned, or how does that...
Both.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to piss off people with this, too, in the pagan realm, anyway, that if you were a witch in a former life, and you see this a lot, I was a witch in a former life, so all of my knowledge is going to come back to me through meditation. No, it doesn't work that way. You've got to practice and work on it again. It doesn't, and...
Could you get bits and pieces, though? Like, some people that believe that they've been reincarnated into another body will get, like, little bits and pieces of information from that previous life?
You might.
Okay.
But does that make you, because you were a third generation Alexandrian high priestess, in 12 AD, does that mean you are today? No.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Right, but...
You see that a lot.
Okay.
And it's like, really? No.
That's like saying, okay, I was a surgeon in a past life in the 1800s. Right. I can do it now.
And Jack the Ripper was born.
And again, you see that today too.
All right.
No.
Okay, so it's like some of the people that claim that they were like Leonardo da Vinci in a previous life, so now they're like these massive inventors.
And I still have to ask, where the hell are all the peasants? I've yet to find
and that's the problem is you can't have 15,000 Leonardo da Vinci.
No. It's like, I did my past life readings, and I was the King of England. It's bullshit. Sit down.
I'm pretty sure I was probably a peasant in my past life.
Like the kid.
You were probably a peasant many different times.
Right.
You might have been royalty at one point, whether you were a knight
the Titanic,
or,
I believe him.
Well, okay, if they could prove it, then yeah, by all means.
And he named rooms that he had no ability to know.
That's what I mean. In some cases, absolutely.
He named parts of the ship that aren't online.
Mm-hmm.
But see, now that's what I'm talking about, though, is like you got these special cases. Now, I'm not saying everybody is like this, but you got these special cases where there are specific memories of stuff that, like, continue on to the next reincarnation of that person. So... wouldn't it be possible that, like, in specific cases, like, I believe they do this with the Dalai Lama, where you would have all of your past life knowledge, like, from one to the next.
Right.
Like, I mean...
wasn't that supposedly how they find the next Dalai Lama?
Yeah, is they put out a whole bunch of his personal effects, and the person that picks all of the ones that were his absolute personal effects and what they were used for... becomes the next Dalai Lama.
Okay, so since we're on this topic, let's talk about heaven and hell. So, in different pagan traditions, there is a version of heaven and hell. In the North, they have Valhalla. And I'm sure some listeners have heard of Valhalla, the name. And that is where the warriors, when they die, go...
It's the everlasting feast.
It's the everlasting feast, but they're training for the next war.
Yep, but it is the feast to end this war.
Right.
No.
It is your end of this war.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when you finally get to see your first clan leaders.
I've heard of Valhalla also being an everlasting river. Is that...
No, you're thinking of River Styx.
That's Styx.
Okay.
Good man.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dennis, I agree with you. Everyone wants to, like, and I would call them YouTube, which is just like there's YouTube mechanics, there's YouTube doctors, there is YouTube everything now. You want a profession, you can learn it on YouTube.
It drives me nuts. Anybody can throw a YouTube channel up there and say, here's how you do this, here's how you do it. No, bullshit. Study.
And I will say it does work with a lot of things. Like, my son wants to build a windmill. And I told him the best way to learn is actually to find some of the guys on YouTube. And I told him, like, when I do this, you have to go through hundreds of videos
to find the right one.
One that actually, like someone that actually knows what they're talking about, to find your angles and how to do everything properly and actually get your best model. Mm-hmm. But in the end, you're the only one that can actually do it. You have to learn it yourself.
Right.
And there's all kinds of little tricks that you can learn from these guys. But in the end, if you're not putting your best effort in, which means actually doing the work, you're not going to end up with anything.
No. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get, especially in paganism, you're not going to get spoon-fed.
Yeah, we have.
You got to put your own work into it.
We have definitely become a society of shortcuts in the quickest way.
Yeah, and there is no quickest way for a spell.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get a very good result.
No, like that's the one where everybody's sitting at tables and they're drinking mead and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it pictures it on
yep.
like different movies and stuff.
So Dennis always thought it was an endless war of victory. That's where all the warriors are going to drink with Odin, essentially.
And it would be an endless war. You're right. Like in a way, it's all of it combined. Like according to what I've read of Norse mythology,
they're also training for Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So Ragnarok is the apocalypse version of the Norse.
That's the god of fire coming down and destroying everything.
And
right?
the Great
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
And the Great Wolf.
Destroying Asgard.
Destroying
Yep.
Asgard.
So, you've got that version.
So wait, what is Asgard? Asgard is where the gods live in Norse?
In Norse belief, yes.
Okay.
So then you have reincarnation. So everyone in our belief system, every life you live, you have lessons you're supposed to be learning to advance to the next life. Which is why you have the kid that was 3 years old playing concertos. You can have memories of past lives, absolutely. Not saying you can't, but not everybody was the Queen of England or Prince Charles or some form of.
They're both not dead. So.
Well, no, I know, but you know what I mean. Not everybody was some form of damn royalty. You had peasants. Now, where I do draw the line, I don't believe a human can come back or was an animal at one point. I don't believe that. I believe humans are humans.
Now, okay, I know this is a little screwy here, but according to one of Hitler's personal journals, he believed that he was the reincarnation of Napoleon Bonaparte.
Well, they were both pretty short.
So,
oh God.
And there's plenty of people out in the world, like serial killers and different things, that have said that they are the reincarnation of somebody.
Right.
So, I know that Manson, I believe it was Manson, that said that he was the reincarnation of Rasputin. That he
Here's
He was Rasputin.
So here's where I stand on that, though. If you were a piece of shit in this life, you're going to come back next life as the opposite of what. So if you're a serial killer, you're going to come back as a victim next life.
Oh, okay.
You're not going to learn.
So it goes with that karmic law, too.
Right.
Okay. So do you believe, personally, that you can come back as not just humans? Like, do you believe that you could be reincarnated as like a butterfly or an alien?
No.
Or
I don't
human
think so.
Human.
Now I do question that. I do think cats and dogs, for example. You look at some of the cat. For me, I look at some of the cats I've had, and that goes with familiars though. So every cat I've had.
What is a familiar exactly?
Is an animal that works with the witch.
Okay. So it can be any animal?
Generally a cat.
Okay.
Some say their dogs are their familiars, and that's acceptable. And so, like in Harry Potter, the owl would be his familiar. And good point, Dennis. So Dennis is saying there's almost 7 billion people in the world today compared to how many thousand plus years ago?
To be fair, a lot of them are new. There are a lot of people out there who...
you can tell old souls versus new souls.
Yeah.
So there's new souls born all the time.
And they're dumber than shit. I mean, what?
Yep. No, absolutely. They're learning. They're babies.
Is it possible to
They're
have
baby
like
souls.
Yes.
split souls? Like, okay, so let's say a person dies and they get reincarnated. Can they get reincarnated as two separated people? Like, it splits their...
Generally, no.
Okay.
It has happened, but generally, no. That's not normal.
Okay.
Where were we? Familiars. So, yes, the familiar works with the witch. So, for example, if Izzy or I go to the altar or our working station, our cat jumps up there with us. And it's been, I had a Maine Coon that was the same way. If I was doing any kind of witchy work, she was right there, lending her energy.
Okay. So they're just like energy boosts. Then they're extra.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. So like if you're drawn to, because I see
so
a lot
like
of people that
cat,
say that snakes
cat whiskers actually are a part of some spells that we do.
Okay. So it would be like whatever kind of animal that you were specifically drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
So
It can be.
So like a live action spirit guide then, kind of?
I guess that's the easier way to explain it, yeah.
Alright, so if you're like one of those people that is really, really drawn to birds, and you had a bunch of birds around with you, and you have a parrot or something that goes everywhere with you,
they could be
would
your
be
familiar.
considered like your familiar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so yes, you can't come back as an animal, in my opinion, from past lives. But I have questioned that before because I have had cats that acted almost human, or like it's uncanny. But generally speaking, I think once human, always human. But then you also have some that say they're an alien in a former life. So I mean, I don't know. Does anybody honestly, without a doubt, know? Not really.
I don't know. I have an issue with that.
Okay.
Because... Okay. If you were an alien in former life, do you actually want to admit that?
Generally speaking, I would say no.
There is absolutely zero proof. You know that.
Uh-huh.
As the person who's saying it, you know there's zero proof of that.
There's no way to prove it. You can't magically create a ball, a physical ball in your hand, or to show. Although
You are automatically going to be ridiculed.
Right. So even if you were, you wouldn't tell anybody.
Because you look at the people who just say that they have past lives, they're ridiculed.
Mm-hmm.
Or honestly, you look at the people that just say something along the lines of "I saw a spaceship" or "I was abducted," and they're ridiculed.
Well, but then you prove it, like that kid, and you're not ridiculed anymore. People are scared of you.
Yeah. Now you're a freak of nature.
So then you got to think, like, if you were actually going to prove that you were an alien in a past life, now how scared are people of you?
Or they'll try to kill you.
But, like, if people actually say it out loud and try and shout it from the mountaintops, well, in my mind, that's just a call for attention.
Yeah.
And I feel horrible saying that, but it's not logical.
In most cases, it would be.
I
mean, we've seen it in FMP.
Yeah.
How many cases did we take on that were calls for attention? Because until the advent of paranormal television shows, the minute you said you had a ghost, you were ridiculed.
Yeah, people thought you were nuts. I mean, back in the day, for saying any of these things, you would end up in a mental institution somewhere.
I don't know, like, that's the stupid part, because I always thought, like, my family wasn't very open about that stuff. The problem is, I just never freaking talked to them about it.
Right. Well, it's
like
something...
my dad actually believes that there's a ghost in their house, but he believes they're animals. And I get it. Mm-hmm. There was always something weird in that house growing up. Mm-hmm. Shit would move. But I get what he means, because it was stuff that a human couldn't do.
Right.
Well,
Slides.
no, it was stuff that, like, it was only stuff that an animal that was only about 3 feet tall could do.
It's like maybe a spirit guide?
I don't know. But, like, it was either a dog or a cat that could only take stuff from one area to another, but it was nothing high up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was nothing on the kitchen table, but the side tables in the living room, those could, like, anything on those could be moved.
Right.
But nothing on the counters or the kitchen table. So it makes sense that he would think it's a dog.
And I'm right there with you, Dennis. You know, but to be honest with you, paranormal TV shows had their place. They were great for opening people's minds. I think where the problem, and we've talked about this on the show many times, the problem was comes from where Tom, Dick, and Harry want to go out and be Ghostbusters and, well, frankly, stir shit up even more than it should have been.
It opened up the wrong people's minds.
Right. So it had its place. It's had its time. People aren't so quick to ridicule others that have hauntings or saw a UFO, especially today. Not quite there with the alien abduction side. I don't know if we ever will be. We'll see what the Pentagon produces on June 1st. But we'll see.
Well, and like it's like
it got its ratings. It made people famous. Zach Bagans.
Like, now the big thing again is Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
There's
cycle.
new shows coming out now again about Bigfoot.
I've noticed that with the paranormal, though, it seems to cycle.
One of them gave me the best thing, and I used it today on Facebook.
Okay.
Because I've been on the other end of this where I asked this question.
Mm-hmm.
If Bigfoot's real, why have we never found remains?
Okay.
I was an avid hunter and hiker.
Right.
But how many times have I been walking through the mountains and seen a dead bear, a dead elk, a dead cougar, or anything like that?
But
you don't see them.
No, but how many of those bodies were picked over?
You'd still see blood or something.
You would think. No, I completely agree.
I've never seen one. If I've never seen that one, why would I see a Bigfoot?
You wouldn't, because you don't see the other wild.
Yeah, like
so.
Yeah, I've been in the woods pretty much
that's
my whole
always
life. I've never seen a bear.
That's always been a poor excuse.
A dead bear.
I've never seen a dead bear.
That's always
I've
been.
never even seen a dead squirrel.
No, that's always been
Other
a
than the
poor
one
excuse
she
to me.
killed.
Right?
Kayla kills them.
It was
She's
an
mean.
accident, and it should have moved out of the way of the lawnmower.
Seriously?
Seriously.
You kill a squirrel with a
I
lawnmower?
felt so bad.
What the hell?
Not only did I run over it with the lawnmower, but I had a trailer on the back of the lawnmower, and that ran over it too. And then, it was horrible. It was terrible.
So, as far as Dennis is saying nobody watched Zach for his ghost hunting abilities, and you're absolutely right. When people approached us over the years wanting clients' stories for their TV show, and most of them were in England, Travel Channel, it is really weird to me to answer my cell phone to a British accent going, I'm in London. No, do you have any clients that want to talk? No, not really. It's all about ratings. And, coming from the acting field, it's all about personality.
I would compare it to a live-action Scooby-Doo without the dog.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Really, like, it's fictional.
If you have the right personality for that particular character, then yeah, that's where Zach came from.
It's fictional. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, I don't mean what he's investigating is fictional. I mean he's fictional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not a paranormal investigator.
No, he's an actor.
Yeah.
Well, you see that with a lot of different shows. So any of the things that fall into the realm of this is a reality show, they aren't reality shows. Like you said, they have a whole medical crew with them. They have this, they have that. So when you watch something like Naked and Afraid, at any point, if something got bad enough, they have a crew come in and take them out of there. Like, they
So,
aren't just out in the wilderness by themselves.
But to be completely honest, the paranormal field, 60 to 70% of the time is explained by mundane. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be, oh my God, did you see that glass move? It really ain't. Mm-hmm. I'd say 2 out of 10 cases might actually have honest paranormal activity.
I don't even know if I'd rate it that high, honestly. Like,
it depends. But taking the word of a sensitive, for example, isn't documented enough proof for a TV show. Mm-hmm. So if you were to actually take a real paranormal team on Travel Channel, would they have enough actual things happening that were paranormal to give them ratings?
No,
yes.
Yes,
but it wouldn't be cost effective.
Right. Because they'd only have 2 out of 10 cases, maybe.
No, because they'd have to go to that many different places to film. Think of how many places across the world you'd have to film.
Right.
Right. Well, and honestly, it would be boring for most people to watch because something isn't happening all the time.
No.
So you'd have, like, we know that we've been on an investigation where you have hours and hours and hours of absolutely nothing.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily mean there's nothing there, but it means it's not active for this amount of time. I mean, like, it would be boring to sit there and watch somebody sitting in a house for 16 hours. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just not something that would get you ratings.
No, and you're not, again, 1 out of 50 times you might actually see something fall over by a paranormal event. Mm-hmm. Not not the furnace kicked on and the wind blew it over. Not somebody opened the door and a gust of wind came in. No.
And I agree with Dennis on this, that yes, every show has to answer to that wonderful insurance.
Yep.
Every business has to answer to that insurance. So, I mean, it is a headache and a half.
So they have to make fiction.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is the ones that watch that thinking it's reality. Yes. That's where, this isn't an educational show. This is entertainment. But how many people watch it thinking it's education, not entertainment?
But that's the problem. There's no show on the TV that's not entertainment anymore.
No.
Yeah. No, you know, and that's the thing is even the documentaries, even this kind of stuff, they have entertainment value in them. They have to because they don't keep people's attention if they don't.
Well, it's like the space ones. The space documentaries. It's like they walk into a freaking lab and pick the biggest weirdo they can find.
It is. It's hilarious.
So when it comes to paranormal and pagan, you're not going to find Bigfoot within our belief system.
You don't know that. He might be pagan.
Oh, well, he could be. But
maybe he's dancing around the maypole right now.
He probably is. He's got all kinds of maypoles. Oh, by the way, the maypole is a phallic symbol.
Well, now you're just being gross.
But and also there is no extraterrestrial. There is no the UFO side does not really fall into the pagan realm. When it comes to paranormal, we do deal with spirit. We do deal with fae. Some of those supernatural realms. What? You're thinking of a question.
I think you kind of got to speak for yourself on that one.
Huh. Who are you referring to?
Historical pagans.
Okay. Explain.
Historically, pagans have a lot to do with the star people. There is no guarantee.
Which ones?
It would be
the Druids, maybe, because if you look at
Ireland,
if you look at Stonehenge,
Norse,
yeah,
the Vikings themselves,
okay,
they would take direction from pagans, or the pagan Norse would take directions from the star people.
Okay.
That's how they
navigate. And I'm not guaranteeing that. That is what is interpreted on the walls.
Right.
Like on.
Well, I mean, honestly,
rock.
look at the Egyptian hieroglyphs. So I'm not saying they didn't believe there weren't aliens. It's just not a part. We don't worship aliens. It's not a part of our practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, though, if you look at like Norse and you look at Asgard, okay, now that is a realm of the gods, or is that like
where Aztec?
No, Asgard.
Asgard. Okay.
Okay, so what is
Asgard
that
is the realm of the deities.
Okay.
Whether it's and I don't know, and I don't think friggin' Freya, for example, because they are also druidic deities. So you have crossover within some traditions as far as which deities they follow.
So, I'm sorry, do you think then is that a different plane of existence, or is that like a different planet of existence? Like, how does that, like the realm of the gods, is this just like...
It's not a planet, it's a plane.
It's a plane, so it's like the astral plane, or like any of the other... Okay.
It's a realm, like the dragons live in the 9th dimension. So it's just another realm.
Okay.
And, you know... There is a lot of crossover because you look at Zeus and you look at Odin, for example. They were both lightning throwers.
So, Ganesh was also had the power bubbles. Like...
I used to know so much more about the Hindu side. So when we ran, and that's what was fun. Even though we were in a combat zone, having that sense of family, sense of morale, of pagan soldiers of all beliefs. So we had Sean, who was a druid. We had Heather, who was Shinto. Although, you know, and I asked her to teach a class on Shinto, but she wouldn't, because Shinto is very... You have pagan mysteries, you have pagan secrets, and then you have Shinto, which is family and their family secrets. So you won't.
Okay, I got you.
You won't actually find. And I don't. I really. If I was to find a book on Shinto, I wouldn't believe it, because.
Okay, so it's like the more secretive.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay.
She was taught from grandmother and great-grandmother of Shinto practice. So, yeah, no, she was bound by family oath. So, you find a book on Shinto, for example, you're going to find a very watered-down belief system.
Well, you find, like, different pagan aspects in most religions. Like,
you do.
Just in general, in most religions, you'll find a bit of pagan aspect in it.
Well, and even in Islam. So the Yazidi are awesome people. The Kurdish and the Yazidi. So the Kurdish actually, before there were borders, they actually lived in ancient Samaria.
Okay.
You know, they lived on that border of Iraq and Syria, and which is why, you know, not talking politics, but it really hit me hard when Trump came out and said, no, we're not working with the Kurds anymore. Those were our people. Those were people that actually worked with soldiers.
So
they fought,
know,
side by side with us.
Are the descendants of the Sumer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, you got the Yazidi, which, again, they worked with Marduk and Isis. No, Ishtar. There we go. It was Ishtar and Marduk. I mean, they were, you know, and that's why, you know, I've been on the show before and talked about the feeling of the energy of that culture is just phenomenal. Because you're in ancient land. Which it's, a 1,000-year war today. They've been at war with each other for how many thousands of years? But how do I even explain it? But the energy of the continent is just, you know, Mesopotamia, for example, has always been seen as the cradle of civilization. So, yeah, you've got that energy. You've got that that feeling there.
Now, when you do a spell, like one where you have several different people involved. Okay. Is there more power depending on the location? Like, if you were to do it...
If you were to do it, for example, in Stonehenge, hell yeah. There's certain power points that you definitely, you will have more energy. But it really doesn't, it matters to an extent. Because energy is energy. If you have a group of people all focusing on the same intention, you create what's called a cone of power. And that's where you're all putting your energy into one cone, or one area. And then you release it with that intention. We did it in Iraq. And there was no gunfire. There was nothing for 24 hours.
Okay.
And that's when we actually pulled every pagan around the world together, coordinated with, time zone. And, yeah, it was the quietest in Iraq for 24 hours.
Okay, so in your belief system, though, then, like, intention equals power, or thought more?
More thought.
More thought than intention?
Well, they work together.
Okay. So you have to have the thought, but you also have to have the intention?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then, of course, so energy is energy, again. Everyone's got it within themselves. You don't have to have the stones, the
Okay,
stuff.
But then it just makes it easier then?
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta have the
Alright, so
Yeah.
you can do it by yourself, you can do it with your own intention, your own thought, your own power,
Right.
but it's easier
It's
if you have the
easier to
elements
focus
with
that
you.
intention and that energy into if you have the stones and the herbs and the...
You don't
Okay,
gotta have the stones,
so-
but you gotta have the stone.
Right,
So
yeah.
it's
you got
like
that like a harness.
meditating, where meditating you can do just personally by yourself out wherever.
Meditation?
But-
So meditation is a whole nother...
But it's easier if you do like your drums.
You
or
have to
your
find
thing.
what happens. You have to find what works for you. So some people, they can sit and listen to Enya and get into that meditative trance just like that. Not a problem. No, me, it puts me to sleep. It took me years to figure out what worked. And the only thing that did work was Native American drum and flute. And I'm trying to remember which tribe it was. There was one specific tribe that actually put me into a meditative state quick. And all of a sudden there's Morgan talking to me. I'm like, who are you? And yeah. And she's like, I've been with you for your entire life. And she said, you're going to go to Iraq and you're going to come back just fine. And all your soldiers are going to be just fine. And that really freaked out. I can't remember his name. The one I talked about. As soon as I packed up Morgan's altar and had all my stuff packed up, ready to go home, and all of a sudden, the door slammed shut, and he's like, huh, what was that, Coop? I'm like, well, Morgan left the building. And, yeah. And it's just like, you're always going to have signs and omens. It's just like when we got to Kuwait, and there were 4 of us. That was before we actually started Desert Moon Grove. But we were sitting in Kuwait, and we had a 3-day convoy ahead of us. And a lot of new soldiers that had never been to combat before. But we got together, and we actually did a protective ritual over the convoy.
Okay.
And so we're all sitting around, candles burning, and you've got soldiers going, what's Coop doing? I don't know, but leave him the hell alone, because it can't be bad. And we got done with what we were doing, and I've told this before on the show, but it was just phenomenal, because I was woken up the next morning in my tent, and they're, Sergeant Cooper, you gotta see this. This is crazy. I've never seen anything like this before. And I walked out, and there were millions of dragonflies, all heading to Iraq. And I actually had one stop, and it looked me right in the eye, face to face. And it hovered there for like 10 seconds, like, here's your sign. You're going to be fine. And they went back with the rest of them and kept on going. Now, this disbeliever can sit and say, yeah, it's probably migratory. Yeah, but that day, no, I don't see that as migratory whatsoever. I see that as a sign because our convoy made it, not a shot fired.
Okay.
So I'm sleeping on the hood of my truck, and the private that was with me, he was terrified because he'd never been to, probably anywhere outside of his house, let alone in combat. And there were explosions and gunfire in the I couldn't even tell where or how far away it was. But there was an attack going on. He's like, Sergeant Cooper. And like, just go to sleep. You're fine. Nothing going to happen. And he did. And nothing happened. But no, we did a 3-day convoy into Beltane. And I don't think anyone died from our battalion. I think one kid killed himself. He went home and did it.
Well, we were watching. We were soldiers. That movie the other day, and There's a scene in there where they all get on this helicopter and they fly into an active zone. Okay, and they drop into an active zone. And I looked at Cole and I said, "Man, I don't know how they do it because." I would be puking my guts out and freaking out with such high anxiety, knowing what
that was towards the end of the movie too.
Yeah, that I'm like that takes some.
No.
No, that was at the very beginning. That's
the first time they're going in. Yeah. It is the first time they're that
the US
is in Vietnam.
But they landed into a quiet area because they had no idea there were thousands surrounding.
Yeah, they had no idea that it was an active zone.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying is that I don't know. That takes some mental strength to get on the damn chopper and go there. Like, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would be puking my guts out. I would be like,
oh, but it's so fun.
There's
dropping.
a story, and I can't remember the guy's name anymore.
Which one?
The helicopter pilot.
Oh.
He was told by his commanding officers to stop going in, and he went back 50 more times to go get more men.
Snakeskin. Or snake.
I can't remember, Eric.
No, that was his... pilot name was Snake.
But when he finally got done, he had been shot like 4 times.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And
when they got him out of the helicopter, Kayla, his wounds were dry.
Oh God, ouch.
But
he was shot on the 2nd or 3rd trip back in.
You gotta understand that shows the bond because none of the other pilots did that because they didn't know the colonel. But if you remember in the very beginning. The colonel talked to that pilot. He made that bond. Yeah. And he wasn't going to leave that colonel behind.
I'm just saying, it takes a special kind of person and a lot of guts to get on that damn chopper in the first place.
Yeah.
To get on that convoy or wherever you are going, not knowing what's on the other end of that. That's an insane amount of courage. And something that I know personally, I would be a freaking blithering mess before I even hit any form of ground.
So
now in the Army, you had chaplains.
Yeah.
Now, was it just Christian or Catholic chaplains?
Why are you starting a fight?
No, no,
no, not at all.
So, is there one for every?
And we're not going to be able to finish this answer, but we'll start it because we have a couple minutes for last break here. So, in the Army, in the military in general, there is no pagan chaplain, or Wiccan chaplain, or Druid chaplain. There is no pagan chaplain at all. In fact, they had their chance to have one, but for whatever reason, it's just like we had a 9-year fight just to get a pagan emblem on veteran headstones. A 9-year fight. That should never have been a fight to begin with. If I die as a soldier and I want Mickey Mouse on my damn headstone, I should be able to have Mickey Mouse on my headstone. Mm-hmm. But we can't have a pentacle? Why not? There are 13 Christian symbols. The atheists have a symbol. It's the atom. But it took them 9 years to fight just to have a pagan symbol.
I don't agree with the Mickey Mouse comment.
I'm just saying.
No. We need to stop praying to fucking Disney because they're taking over everything.
You know what my point is?
They're the new Catholic Church, Eric.
Okay.
Disney is scary.
But no, it took 9 years. So in 2004, there was a Christian chaplain that wanted to be the first Wiccan chaplain. He voiced that. He had Sacred Well, which is a very large, federally recognized Wiccan church. Mm-hmm. And had the seminary, the whole 9 yards. But for whatever reason, in their infinite wisdom, the military said, oh, well, they're not good enough. So not only did he not become the first Wiccan chaplain, but his Christian denomination dropped him as an endorsing agency, mm-hmm. and he got kicked out of the Army as a captain.
Okay. That sucks.
So they've done everything they can to fight on all angles to keep a pagan chaplain. We've got, 2-3 Islamic chaplains in the military now. I believe we have a Buddhist chaplain, but there is still no pagan chaplain. Mm-hmm. So to appease that, they created what's called, and it used to be called the Distinguished Faith Group Leader. And they changed it in the last few years to Distinguished Religious Group Leader, the RGL. Okay. To get that, you have to have an endorsing agency, which Forest Moon Grove is one. Mm-hmm. So we do sponsor a pagan group in Korea on, I believe, 2 different Army bases. So they take this letter that we create for them, and they take that to the Army chaplain. It doesn't really matter whether they're Christian or Catholic, but this chaplain takes our letter and becomes their sponsoring chaplain. Oh, okay. Now, when it comes to pagan issues, we are there to help the soldiers. Mm-hmm. When it comes to, I guess, military regulation issues or anything of that nature, finding them a location to practice, that's the sponsoring chaplain's job.
Oh, okay. All right.
And with that, we will carry on that part of the conversation when we come back. So stay tuned, and we will talk about pagans in the military.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
And welcome back to the last hour of tonight's show. So we were talking about pagans in the military and why there is not a pagan chaplain. Well, we know there's not a pagan chaplain because, well, they just don't want to give us one. But we have the DRGL. So the DRGL's purpose within... so Fort Lewis, for example, had the New Moon Fellowship. That was the installation Wiccan group. Now, my problem with that was the minute you say it's a Wiccan group, that excludes all the other pagan traditions in their mind. Now, that particular group was open to all beliefs, all pagan beliefs. Now, okay, yeah, if you're a Christian, you're going to be welcome there. But what Christian soldier is going to go into a pagan group? They usually don't. But just the fact that they call it a Wiccan circle really excluded the Druids, excluded the Asatru, excluded the witches that didn't consider themselves Wiccan from going to those, which is why we call our group Desert Moon Grove, because Grove is a well-known terminology for a pagan group.
Okay.
It's primarily Druid. Druids had groves, but it opened it up. Now, depending on which pagan organization that you endorse yourself through, Sacred Well, for example, you had to call yourself a Wiccan circle. So that was a problem. So I did use Sacred Well for originally with Desert Moon Grove to be my endorsing agency. What I found a problem was when we had issues, they weren't there to support it. Same thing with Aquarian Tabernacle, which I used for the second tour that we did. They would give you a piece of paper, but they weren't actually there to help you with your supplies. They weren't there to help you with issues you had. You had to figure out that for yourself. So when I created Forest Moon Grove as a civilian counterpart for Desert Moon, we changed that. So in 2009, we actually supported and endorsed 13 different groups within Iraq, Afghanistan, Korea. So the need was there. The problem you find today is most of them have gone back into what we call the closet. They won't come out and say they're pagan anymore because of the fact that they won't make rank. They get discriminated against because of their belief. It's common practice today. You put on extra details because, oh, you're pagan, you're not Christian. And that's a big problem today. Still.
Now, when you say you supported them, did you guys also send like care packages and stuff? Or
Absolutely.
Was it just, okay.
They give us a wish list, and I mean we did have a problem with that last year when they needed supplies for a Yule celebration they're doing. Usually I put the word out to Forest Moon Grove, and they would step up and send out packages. Nobody did. So we're going to change that, and Izzy and I are going to make sure that we get the packages put out, not rely on the other people in the group.
Okay.
And that's fine. Not everybody's got the money to buy some candles or herbs or whatnot and get it out. I get that. It's hard times, especially now with COVID.
Yeah, last year was just insane for everybody.
So we'll make sure that we get it done. We used to be able to go to, well, when we lived in Tacoma, for example, there were stores down there that actually let us put boxes up. And you want to support your pagan troops, they could drop, buy candles in the store and drop it in the box, or but we don't have that support anymore.
Okay.
Now the problem with the DRGL is we're not there. I'm not there in Korea. I can't make the chaplain do his damn job. And I think I've told this story one time, and that was in Iraq when we had a pagan troop that was bleeding out and dying and was actually in a row of other soldiers. The chaplain came, he saw a pagan on his dog tags, he said, and he stepped over him. He went to the next soldier. Now, the argument with that would be absolutely. So maybe he wasn't comfortable that he was a different faith. Mm-hmm. But where he was wrong is that he should have called the DRGL.
Oh, okay.
So when the DRGL asked him, why the hell wasn't I called? That soldier died alone. And the chaplain said, stay in your lane. Really, that is his damn lane. That was his job. So, yeah, you have a lot of chaplains that are pieces of shit that don't do their job.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you are... Okay, so I know for certain religions, if you are that religion, you get, like, your last rites. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Hopefully at the end of your life.
Yes. Is there a form of last rites in the pagan community?
And that's where Izzy comes in, because that's more, that is really Izzy's interest in the clergy side, where, yeah, she sees me more as the ham-fasting, wickening of babies and that kind of thing. She is more interested in the last rites side of it, of the bereavement, death and bereavement. So, yes, there is. And again, it goes by your tradition. Some druids, for example, have their own methods and their own standards, and basically a celebration of life for most of them. Mm-hmm. And that's for most pagans, not just druids. So yes, there is different crossing overs, rites that we do. And I think that's where, anybody can go on ulc.org in instant ordination. Everybody's ordinated, and it's recognized everywhere. But does that mean that you are qualified to be clergy? In the clergy sense of it, not really. They give you a piece of paper that says you can go out and the main reason I actually went through ULC years ago was because we had a soldier that wanted to get married before we deployed, and everywhere he went, they wanted $500 to $1,000 just to sign the piece of paper. I was like, nah, screw that. I can do it for free, just to get you, your marriage license before we get sent to Iraq. And so that's actually what started that. And then the more I looked, so we do have some great pagan clergy down in I'm losing my voice here, the Tacoma, Seattle side, that go to prison ministries, or they'll go to the mental hospital and visit pagans that might be there, Izzy and I have gone to Skagit Valley Hospital to visit pagan patients.
And with your clergy, okay, so I'm just going off of the understanding I have of certain other religions. So, Catholics do a confession, okay?
We don't have that.
Do you have any of the...
No.
No?
No,
Okay.
we don't do confessions. That's between you and your deity.
Oh, okay, so you, do your own confession type thing for your own...
But we don't recognize confessions. We don't recognize sin, per se. Mm-hmm. And that's where confession comes from, is you're announcing, or...
we done fucked up.
Yeah, you're admitting your sin to your clergy in, who's the representative of God. Mm-hmm. Would that be a correct...
Yeah, but it wasn't my fault, I swear.
So, yeah, no, you answer to your god and goddess.
Okay. Okay. So, more like the Egyptian divine scales, then? Or,
Essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, but there is no clergy. It's going to, you answer to your deity.
Okay.
There's not an in-between that's going to answer to the deity for you.
Okay. Now, the other thing that I've always kind of wondered about is, in certain religions, there's, earth, and then there's some form of, a purgatory, or
we don't have a purgatory. There's no in-between.
Okay.
You're either going to be here, or you're going to be reborn.
Okay.
Well, not here, as in stuck here on Earth. No. Well, unless you choose to. Mm-hmm. But, no, you go back, get in line, and you're reborn when you want to be reborn.
Okay. I got you. So there is no, middle ground.
There's no middle ground.
Okay. Cool. I have a problem with religions in general, and I'm not saying I have a problem with the people of
Right.
the religions. I just really don't understand religion because I come from... I'm not religious, I guess. Would be the way to put that. I don't know
I
what
didn't
the
know
heck I
aliens
am.
had religion.
Actually, they do. Based on whichever person you talk to or whichever... so according to some alien races actually believe in a creation goddess.
Not this
So
one.
I guess when it comes to the pagan aspect, paganism is the closest some alien races believe when it comes to religion. That came from, I don't know, well, that came from Dante's side of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
I was honestly just making a joke because I do know that there are points where the Pope, and I'm not talking about this one, because this one has admitted that he believes aliens are real.
Oh, God. Oh.
But
No, go ahead.
there are popes from the past
Right.
who have written passages describing how they did have alien followers
Okay.
in God. They don't follow the Catholic Church itself,
Right.
but they believe in our God.
That's
Fair.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, then you have, wasn't it this Pope that came out and said, when aliens come down, we'll be right
Standing
there
there with
to...
open arms.
Yep. So,
And-
Arnold, who, I'm sorry folks, Arnold couldn't make it with us tonight because he's having internet issues. But Arnold called me yesterday. So they were listening to a radio show. It was a Christian broadcast. I'm not sure if it was a Christian broadcaster or if it was somebody that called into Art Bell or Coast to Coast. But they were going to go out and capture Bigfoot and baptize him and make him the next Pope. That was on the radio.
Huh.
And we were laughing and laughing and laughing. Yeah, okay, good luck. I want to watch him. I want to watch them catch Bigfoot.
Bigfoot Pope.
Good luck with that. Good luck baptizing Bigfoot, because I think Bigfoot would shred you apart. And yeah, they're gonna make Bigfoot the next Pope. I wonder if that's Westboro Baptist Church, but I couldn't see them believing in Bigfoot. But
Well, the
you
Baptist
know,
Church wouldn't be believing in the Pope either.
that's true. This
So-
is true.
Maybe it's that lady in Southern Washington who wants to have his babies.
Bigfoot babies?
Oh, there you
trying.
go. That's got to be the one. Yeah.
And
That was the Valentine's Day show, I think, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, for those who want to hear that story, go back and listen to February 14th Valentine's Day show that we did, and when you can hear about the woman that wanted to have Bigfoot's baby.
She said she was pregnant with Bigfoot's baby.
And then you can,
No.
then you can
they
go,
were trying real hard.
then you can go watch them on Jerry Springer, or no, Montel
Steve
Williams.
Wilkos.
Steve Wilkos.
There you go,
Yeah,
Steve
yeah,
Wilkos. Yep. And you can watch the DNA test. That would be an interesting one. The results are in. Yes, you are not the father. It's actually, yeah.
You are one of the father.
yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's actually a
So,
gorilla.
I heard you say that there was a christening type thing.
So there is what you call a wickening. I've never done one. I've never been asked to do one. I've never had to do one. And that's basically where you take your children before your god and goddess, or god or goddess, whichever your tradition is, and bring them before that deity. So it's very much like the Catholics have where they sprinkle the baby, correct?
Baptismal?
Well, or just
Donkey.
Dunk.
a form of it, yeah.
With babies, though.
Yes. Well, but like,
It'd be very...
depends on the church. Like, some of them just sprinkle the water. It actually depends on the priest, because our church has done it different ways. So,
Right.
we actually have a baptismal bath that's just on a pedestal, and it's just a sink that they just scoop water. The priest scoops water into his hand, and then onto the baby's head.
Right.
For,
So it's very similar to that, but different deity,
Okay.
essentially.
Okay.
So
it's just like welcoming them into the religion, basically.
Right.
Okay.
Now, we have a hard time with that because, honestly, I was born and thrust into Christianity my entire life. Mm-hmm. But, honestly, I believe it's the child's choice.
Oh, okay.
So us being pagan, yes, we're going to slowly teach our kids some of the pagan beliefs. They have the option to go to church with grandma and grandpa. Mm-hmm. If they want to go to an Islamic mosque, by all means, we will find a way to take them to a mosque. But I believe children should have that choice, not forced.
So religion is your own personal choice,
right.
Not something that you should.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be pushed into you by parents.
Okay.
Because that's how a lot of people go to pagans. Because I didn't become pagan because I hated Christianity because of my parents. I was drawn to paganism even as a Christian. Mm-hmm. It's not that I turned my back on Christianity like a lot of them do. A lot of them, I'm just going to piss off my parents and become a witch. That's really the attitude with a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And that's the wrong way to go about doing that. Alvaron Zell in his books actually tells kids, if your parents don't like you being a witch or a wizard, wait till you're 18 and then make that choice. Then do it because you're 18 and you're old enough to make that,
Yeah.
You're not going to piss your parents off.
Right.
You don't want to live with pissed off parents. And then you got some authors, I will say no names, that encourage kids to be secretive about it. I don't believe in that either. You're a kid. Be a kid.
Yeah.
And when you're old enough to make that decision on your own, without your parents' influence, then you make that choice.
My kids were taught to ask questions.
Right.
Question everything.
Absolutely.
Leave nothing to chance. But at the same time, Brian, I don't care what religion you are fucking respectful or I will beat it into you.
Right?
Oh
the wooden spoon. The belt.
Oh, hell no.
No.
I meant 2x4, but it's cool.
Okay,
Oh my
okay,
God.
okay.
Whatever.
2x4 works too. Just make sure the Driad's not in it no more.
He helps. He helps.
Oh, jeez.
He smacks him across the face when I hit him on the back of the head.
So do witches fly on brooms? No, we don't.
Don't lie. Just because you upgraded to Roombas. Okay.
So that actually came from a lot of drugs.
Wizard of Oz.
A lot of drugs.
The guy on the Roombas looked pretty sober to me.
Right?
Oh my God.
People aren't supposed to know that. Do we do human sacrifice? No, we don't. Obviously, like we said in the beginning, yes, they used to. You had Druid sacrifices. Some of the Celts did.
But I mean, most religions back in the beginning of their religion did some form of human sacrifice. I mean, this isn't a new concept for anything. This was everyday life back
But
then.
you know, it's pathetic when you have an army chaplain asking you, "You're not going to do any sacrifices, are you?" Yeah, no. I mean,
right.
Come on now. And finally, I pretty much told him to kiss my ass, and I walked out. Mm-hmm. I looked at him and said, "You're not going to convert me. Don't try. You're clergy. I'm essentially clergy now. Mm-hmm. So deal with it." Didn't hear from him the entire year, and then all of a sudden he wanted me to write him an AAR. So an AAR is an after-action report. He wanted me to basically make him glow with all the wonderful things he did, which he did absolutely nothing to support or help us.
Yeah.
And so I did. I wrote an AAR. I wrote a several-page AAR of all the things that we did as a group, all the Sabbats that we performed as a group, the healing rituals we did because we had soldiers that lost their leaders, lost other soldiers within their units. So we did healing rites with them. we did a lot on our own with zero military support.
Right.
You know, and I wrote, so how to improve, I actually wrote, you know, well, as a religious leader, it would have been cool if I could have gone to chaplains' meetings. If our group would have actually been listed on the religious services list for the installation, things of that nature. And by the time I took the book to his office, he'd already left. He'd already redeployed back home. So it was interesting because he was a major, and it was a full bird colonel that actually came and took his place. And so I went back to that office like 3 weeks later to see. I wasn't aware that he had left, and the colonel was there. And the colonel looked at me and he's like, "Sergeant Cooper?" You know, "Yes, sir." And he's, "Come into my office." So I did. And he's like, "I read your after action report for the major, and I'm kind of pissed off." And you know, I asked him why, and he was pissed off for the fact that none of the stuff that I put down for improvements have been done to begin with. You know, we should have been listed on his religious services roster. We should have been included in religious meetings of how to improve or how to help soldiers within our faith. Thank you, Coral. Great. I'm glad you listened tonight. And so, you know, I saw that as exciting for us because, you know, there's actually a chaplain that was taken over after we left that was going to be supportive of pagan troops. But again, we didn't find anyone to take our place when we left because we actually didn't have a meeting place. We were actually using my maintenance shop because we didn't have anywhere else to go. And obviously, soldiers coming into Iraq, into Balad, couldn't use my maintenance shop because could be another unit there.
Right.
But it shows the need that the military needs to get their head out of their ass and actually be supportive of all beliefs. Not just Christians, not just Catholics. They're not supportive of Islam or pagans.
So, what's the symbology of the herbs and herbs and everything in paganism? Like, what?
So, I do believe every disease and every illness on this planet has, and you can even look, you know, at some of the medications that we take. They have an herbal use,
right,
or an herbal portion to them. So the earth gives to everything you need, whether edible or
so like turmeric for pain,
right?
Or like St. John's wort for.
So they have herbal properties or medicinal properties to them if you study them. They also have magical properties. Which attribute to magical work, whether it's a spell or whether it's you know, and there's also properties. That's why deities have their favorite plants or their favorite stones. They all have properties that are imbued in them from deities.
Now I've heard a lot about red brick clay, like red brick.
Right, red brick is supposed to be protective.
Okay.
And that's a lot more into hoodoo.
Oh, okay.
That's why I said earlier when you talk about brick dust with, so watch the movie Skeleton Key, and they go into a lot of hoodoo. With brick dust is supposed to keep negative entities or demons out of people's homes. And that's a big hoodoo belief. Don't ask me a lot about voodoo because I honestly don't know a lot about voodoo.
You do a lot of work with like essential oils and stuff then, like mint oils and
yes and no,
lavender.
Because you have to be careful with the oils that you get because of the other properties they put into their oils.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually, yeah, absolutely. So Dennis is saying he can afford chalk dust. All you gotta do is, grab a red brick and crumble it down, and you got brick dust. So we do a lot of incense practice.
Okay.
And you don't have to make herbal tea, or herbal tea is great. So, for example, valerian root. Mm-hmm. Valerian root is the root of Valium. Mm-hmm. It comes from Valium. In fact, we drink a lot of valerian tea in our rack, for example. Mm-hmm. So basically, when I went to Balad, I took enough for my own basic practice, mm-hmm. Not for a group. I took my library. Libraries are important. So with library, with a pagan library, you take whatever herbal books you need, whatever mm-hmm. Stone. There's some great books out there. Scott Cunningham again is he makes the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. He mm-hmm. makes the Encyclopedia of stones and metals.
Now I have a couple of friends who they say that they would be in the pagan spectrum. Mm-hmm. But they are very into constellations and star forms and stuff. Now, does that play a big role in like what you do, or
would follow that more into astrology.
Okay.
Because your constellations, you've got, so you have a lot of Mercury's in retrograde, and
right. That's what I'm talking about. Or they're really
so
into
that's astrology.
And,
that's astrology.
Okay.
That's not so much constellations as it is mm-hmm. Falls into the 12 houses and which planets falling into which house, and there's a whole science behind that.
Okay.
And that falls into divination. That's another divination form that a lot of pagans use.
Okay. Now, are you big on like your zodiac signs or
No.
No?
I'm not personally. A lot of pagans are.
Okay.
It really. So, while Cole calls himself a bad Catholic, I'm kind of a bad pagan. I don't. I don't study like I used to.
Okay.
We have an altar, but again, the altar is kind of a catch-all sometimes. When you have kids that you don't understand yet, the practices and whatnot. So, yeah, we do what we do. Mm-hmm. Whether, we work a lot with plants, a lot with herbs, a lot with stones.
Right.
But, again, that also falls a lot with the paranormal, is
right.
why we use our stones and herbs. Not so much with the pagan side.
Okay.
We're more here for the pagan education aspect of helping people, more than anything. And, when it comes to discrimination, when it comes to security issues within the pagan community, and the clergy side.
Gotcha.
Did you drop your cigarette?
No, it kept burning.
So I've seen a lot of what are they? Oh wow, overlap between a lot of the stuff that you're saying about paganism and a lot of the stuff about different tribal beliefs and a lot of the stuff about different island beliefs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'm sorry. My brain is. I just lost it. I lost it totally.
I saw it run away.
I know, right?
So
I think it went on the floor.
It ran. It flew. What are you talking about? So and there is a lot of correlation, but again, I wouldn't. I think a lot of your tribal cultures practice pagan without being called pagan. Mm-hmm. when it comes to the nature side. They use nature a lot. You and I have talked about this on the show before. But were they pagan? I don't think so.
So the same type of
Kinda.
concept, just different. And so naturalists,
Right.
basically. Everything naturalists.
But they didn't have the
I think I'm nudist when you say naturalist. So.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's what they prefer to be called.
Huh?
I think that's what they prefer to be called.
Naturalists.
Naturalists?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
But
Naked people.
the difference is a lot of your tribes didn't have deity. They had Mother Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
She's not naked. I don't think she's naked.
No.
Well, I would
think
assume
she's
she
got
would be
silk.
naked.
Did Gaia ever fall into any of the words when it came to? Did they call Mother Earth Gaia or no?
I think so.
Okay.
I've never heard that, but it's a possibility.
So Gaia is what a lot of the pagans call Mother Earth.
Okay.
She's also on Avatar.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna find a lot of correlations between movies and pagans. Just don't look at The Craft. If you want to watch a good movie, watch Practical Magic.
Practical Magic.
There you go.
Or what's that other one?
Practical
We
Magic.
always watch on Halloween.
Huh? Hocus Pocus?
Yeah.
No.
Come on.
We don't turn people into rats. Sorry.
That'd be so cool.
Toads, not rats.
And cats.
Huh?
No, that was
Cats.
witches that turned them into rats.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
It was.
the
Yeah,
purple-eyed witches or
Okay.
whatever. Yeah.
So when you're looking at symbology, a lot of pagans will wear a pentacle. You'll see Thor's hammer.
What's the tree?
The tree is the world tree. That's what I wear. So the world tree shows the different planes. So the roots go into the underworld. And I guess if you want to talk about a hell or a dark area, it would be the underworld.
Okay.
And so that's where the root is. The root of the tree is in the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
The trunk would be your plane now, and the branches would be the different branches of knowledge.
Okay.
Or the higher planes. And so that's the world tree, or Drasil, is what they call it.
Now,
And-
I've seen like a dragon, like wrapped with leaves, kind of. Is that?
This one? Where'd he go? Hey, he flew away.
Tattoos don't move, dude.
No, they don't. So what I have is a dragon with the Triskelion. So the Triskelion, depending on which tradition you follow, is often the Mother Maiden Crone. So those are the three aspects of the maiden being the young woman.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain it? So the crone being the wise old woman, the mother, the woman that's in
The in-between.
in between.
Like middle age or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have some goddesses that are seen as triple goddess, Mother Maiden Crone, and so there is again. Morrigan is one that some see as a triple goddess figure.
Mm-hmm.
She is Badba, Macha, but I don't see her that way.
Uh-huh.
I see her just as a triple aspect, triple personality, basically.
Okay, so is that kind of like the Holy Trinity then?
Yeah.
Like the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost?
Not really, but I guess the same kind of concept.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the triple moon aspect of waxing, waning, and full.
Okay.
So some will use the Triskelion to represent that. Or they'll use the full moon with the two crescents on each side.
Mm-hmm.
That's another emblem that you'll see some witches use.
Right.
And that's a goddess emblem.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's this other one that I saw a lot in certain friend groups that I have that is like it's like a sun with a little, almost Egyptian-looking cross.
The Ankh?
Yeah.
So you've got the Eye of Horus, which somewhere, they're usually more of an Egyptian path. And you have the Ankh, which, again, is more, that's more, they might work with Horus.
Oh, okay.
Or the Egyptian deities. Bast. Bast is another big one.
Now, do you guys have any specific burial rituals? Like I know that...
That's a personal preference.
Yeah.
Not really. Unless you're talking Norse, and obviously they like the burning. Mm-hmm. Or I think my favorite is the burning boat. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's how I want about to die or be buried. Actually, I'm gonna be cremated. Huh?
You get a dinghy. We're sending you down the Skagit.
Sailboat.
I already told Cole, he said I can't do it, but
no?
I want to be cremated and shot into space.
Oh, God.
I ain't spending that much.
I don't want to be shot into space. I just want to be cremated.
She wants to go home. That's what
I do.
I want the cheapest form because, well, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Who cares what happens to my body?
I want to become a star. I want to, become dust in the sky that gets compacted into a star.
She wants to go back to her planet.
Yeah, pretty much. It's so much nicer up there. No.
So let's see here. I'm trying to think of all the myths that we need to remove. So if you piss off a witch, are they going to put a spell on you? Generally not. You do have some assholes out there, like with any belief system, that will.
I got one. Kayla, go get a cup of water.
What?
He might melt. We can try.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not going to melt. I'm not going to burn up if I walk into a church. I'm not going to melt if I get water dumped on me. And Dennis, Ankh symbolizes infinity. If I read correctly, my other source is Logan's Run. Again, I don't have my symbology book in front of me. And yeah, it's been
Bad bagging.
Oh man.
So really, when you look at the Sabbats, our next Sabbat is midsummer. Beltane is the beginning of summer. It's beginning. So we planted in Ostara. Some people did. We couldn't because it was still freezing here.
Now, do pagans have a holy book like Catholics do, or no?
Now, again, there's some great books out there. Drawing Down the Moon's a great one. The Witch's Bible is another great one. It's a personal thing. Which author you like?
Okay.
A lot of the authors they're watered down. Mm-hmm. They honestly are. We were personal friends with DJ Conway until she passed. She was a great author to me and a great friend to me. I liked E. Dean McCoy and Mira, Scott Cunningham, Ted Andrews. It's a personal thing. Oberon Zell. In fact, Oberon Zell's grimoire for the Apprentice Wizard is going to be our kids' pagan textbook. So if you're looking for something to help, but they're too young right now because the grimoire for the Apprentice Wizard is a little headier, but it's great for your teenager. There's some authors I'm not going to go into right now that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole.
COVID.
That was long before COVID. A lot of the great pagan organizations have folded, and that's so unfortunate for the pagan community overall. I remember when Terra Tacoma shut its doors in 2009, 2010, and they were a pillar for the pagan community in Tacoma, Seattle. And no one's really stepped up. Auberon is now, which is great. but it's kind of a... I see a bunch of cats just running around, doing their own thing. And it's unfortunate. You know, Ed Hubbard is now trying to step up and help build the community.
Okay, so I've heard you mention like a, I don't know exactly what the words, but it would be like a pagan pride type festival.
Okay, so Pagan Pride. Yeah, so Pagan Pride International is something that was created for the overall community to help educate the public. It was great back in the day in the Puget Sound. Pagan Pride was awesome. Mm-hmm. And that was when Paul and Kat ran it. And that was, vendors got together. They had 3 rituals that they did that the public could either just come and watch if they wanted to, or they could actually, it was designed open enough that anybody could have jumped into it and learned something. They had workshops. They had belly dancers. They had music. Organizations could set up a booth. Shops could set up a booth. A lot of shops have since shut down.
So, was it more of like pagan education then? Like educating the public on...
Educating the public, and the pagan community could get together and just have fun for a day. And, and one of the requirements too, they didn't have an entry fee per se, but you bring a can of food for the food bank, and they take the food to the food bank when it was done. So it was a community building event as well as a pagan education event. And, then you have the protests. Oh my God, not the pagans, those Satanists, they're getting together. And they actually had protests in Seattle over Pagan Pride. And that was in, I want to say 2014, 2015. So not that long ago. Mm-hmm. Which is why shows like this every once in a while are important. Because, what the hell? There's no reason to protest because you have witches in your community. Right. You have witches in your community anyway. You just don't know it.
That's what they said in Salem, too.
Right?
That's how that shit started.
So, and I say that because running the Upriver Community Group, we do have no religion in the group for a reason. Mm-hmm. Because of that very fact. The minute I brought up that Forest Moon Grill was opening its doors again a few years ago, the hate...
Brimstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hate and the, oh my God, not pagans, not witches, not in our community. Oh, you know what? You have a huge pagan community right here in the Upriver community. They just don't tell you about it because of that very reaction.
Right. Well, see, okay, so religion for me has never been a reason to hate.
No.
Like, every friend that I have is a different religion from the other one. Mm-hmm. Nobody is the same religion as me. I don't really even honestly have a core belief system. I have certain things that I'm like, okay, that's bad, that's good, that's,
Right.
I thought it was all humans must die.
But, I mean...
Drop the EMP now!
People have looked at me really weird being married to a Catholic, assuming that that's going to be really awkward
that's
for
a
us.
Big... And that's...
Being able to...
that's been the cause of divorce. Mm-hmm. And oh my God... we won't even talk about the custody battles over, oh my God, my wife's a witch. Or my husband's a witch. Right. Oh my God. And... You have, conservative court systems that'll take the kids away because, oh my God, not a witch.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, my husband is Catholic. Some of my best friends are pagans. Mm-hmm. Some of my other friends are Islamic. I mean, I have people from every religious belief. But it always has astounded me how much hate there is between groups that don't even understand the concepts behind the actual religion.
Right.
Like, they don't actually want to learn about it. They don't want to know what it means. They just assume something and go with it.
Because then you got the other one to say, well, the Bible says, suffer not a witch to live. Mm-hmm. Do you understand the interpretation of what a witch was in Aramaic? A witch was a poisoner. Mm-hmm. That means suffer not the murderer to live. Not the witch in today's sense. It's annoying.
I'm a Catholic. I use the Bible as a spiritual guide.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a guide. Guides can get...
Yeah, but
guides can get miscommunicated. The thing is, 90% of the shit in the Bible right now can no longer apply to our lives. If you mix clothing, like mix different cloths, you're going to hell. Well, that doesn't work anymore because there's nothing that's pure.
Have you ever sent? Not getting personal, but have you ever sent Kayla out in the yard to sleep in a tent during her period?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay. Did you go by the Bible?
Not for the period, though.
Okay.
The Seahawks were playing.
I mean, no, if they took the literal interpretation of the Bible, they wouldn't be doing half the... They don't do half the shit. No. But, there's one little...
and that's the thing. That tells you something about the person personally.
Absolutely.
I don't use Bible quotes against people. Because it has nothing to do with them in my mind.
No.
Those are my beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
That's my system.
Mm-hmm.
Why the fuck would it have to do with anything else? Or anyone else?
They shouldn't. And they shouldn't.
It doesn't need to. They
shouldn't be judging anyway, because their own book, on the other end of it, says, don't judge anybody. That's not your place.
Yeah. But... And...
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. It says, judge lest ye be judged.
Right.
So if they're judging you, that just means they're like, okay, I'll be judged.
Bring it
on.
on.
Fuck it.
Right? Oh, and lest he, let him who is without sin cast the first stone.
Get me a stone.
Oh, no.
No, but you went to the...
I was absolved last week. I'm good, guys.
Right? You didn't sin yesterday?
Oh, fuck. I gotta go back to church. I'm coming out with a bunch of stones.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dennis. It does take decades to learn theology. You can't learn it in 4 years. Or even 8.
Right.
For, a degree. Which is what kills me. But bottom line, live and let live, folks. And the next time your neighbor says, hey, I'm a witch, don't freak the hell out. I mean, I remember one person when we were doing Paracon in concrete. So they were going to grab a pitchfork and come up and protest our Paracon, a paranormal conference. And Izzy's response to that was, it's in the school property, so good luck bringing a pitchfork onto the school. Because, well, yeah, the cops will get involved. So, yeah, every few months we will be doing this kind of a show just to dispel myths because we always get new listeners and you might learn something new. So, next week is Mother's Day. It is going to be Mothers of the Paranormal. And I don't know what we're going to do yet. Do you?
Oh, I got mothers.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I got so many Mothers of the Paranormal.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
everything
of course,
from women in white to
on the
women.
16th, we have May Roundtable. And 23rd, I'm not going to really announce yet because that's probably going to change. We're not going to do alien races. Yeah. And then, of course, mark on your calendar, May 30th. There is no show. It's Memorial Day weekend.
Yep.
So, with that, folks.
I got a few things to say.
You do. That's right.
So, number one, a lot of you won't care, but I do. So, gotta say congratulations to our local Seattle Kraken. Ooh. They are officially the 32nd team in the NHL. They made their last payment to the NHL, and we are in.
Awesome.
So, I think it's July 1st starts our draft.
Okay.
So, we'll see who we get, and to the other 31 teams, you're on our list.
Canada, here we come.
Yeah, we're coming for y'all.
Every one of you. Yeah.
As you know, this was our May Day show. That is Eric's holiday for Beltane is Eric's holiday for the week. Mine starts on the 4th. So for all of our listeners, may the 4th be with you. Don't forget about Revenge of the 5th. And this is the May.
Excellent. So stay safe out there. It's supposed to be rainy and sunny, and may your gardens grow.
Live long
Happy
and
May
prosper.
Day. Blessed Beltane. And remember, keep your eyes to the skies.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.